Back in the day, we used to call him D-Mac, but these days it looks like he's had too many Big Macs. So how would Donovan McNabb and Randall Cunningham fit into Chip Kelly's offense? That's the topic of discussion today. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedque. Mike, how's it going?
Number five will always love you. But the question is, would number five love Chip Kelly's offense? Well, not later in his career, because later in his career, Donovan McNabb had one too many Big Macs. And well, it showed up in the Super Bowl when they appeared all over the field in Jacksonville, Florida. So today we debate if who would be better, Donovan McNabb or Randall Cunningham.
It's interesting because that you say that later in his career he wouldn't really fit, and that's because he wanted to become this pocket passer. Early on in his career, obviously McNabb, ran the ball a lot more, and it showed in the stats. Obviously, his greatest rushing season was 629 yards back in 2000. Randall's highest rushing season came in 1990. He had 942. So, in terms of the mobility, obviously these guys would fit perfectly into the zone read concepts. But in terms of everything else, this is where they might differentiate a little bit. In terms of accuracy, Randall Cunningham had a career completion percentage of 56.6%. Donovan McNabb at 59%. That might actually surprise some people in terms of that because McNabb's always known for throwing all these worm balls, all these balls into the ground, but it actually doesn't really surprise me because McNabb obviously was in the West Coast system, a lot more shorter throws, a lot easier throws to complete. So in terms of that, it doesn't surprise me. What do you think about these guys' accuracy?
Well, the problem that McNabb would have in this system would be the dreaded worm ball that we all know about. You would have a problem with that, especially on the wide receiver screens that Chip Kelly likes to run. In terms of just regular screen passes out to the running back, he would be just fine with that. I mean, we saw what he did with Westbrook. That was a staple of theirs. But in terms of the short, 5 to 10 yard passes and the wide receiver screens, that's where McNabb would run into some trouble.
Yeah, and also on the crossing routes, the short crossing routes, I can just already picture McNabb thrown behind and low to his receivers. I could see it already. In terms of the deep ball, both guys were magnificent. Throwing that deep ball down the middle, down the sideline. Both guys had great arms. So I think it's kind of a push there. But in terms of you reference the screens and even the crossing routes, I think Cunningham would have the advantage of that area.
Yeah, definitely. And uh, Cunningham, I can, picture him under Chip Kelly. I mean, he would be great in the running game under Chip Kelly. They could really utilize that. I mean, you were talking about Cunningham's rushing numbers. I mean, he almost got close to 1,000 yards one season. So, I mean, Chip Kelly would definitely utilize that. And, also, Cunningham definitely had the ability to extend the play. So that would also be useful.
Yeah, I think Cunningham would be more of a mobile threat in that zone read concept, getting in the second level. I think he would make more tacklers miss. He's got a little bit more wiggle to him. McNabb's a little bit, a little bit bigger, so he's more powerful, so to speak. So yeah, I like Cunningham a little bit more in the running game. So overall, I think we would both agree that we'd probably take Cunningham in this system. I mean, he'd be a great fit.
Yeah, I think that you have to take Cunningham over McNabb. At first when we first started discussing this, we thought that Cunningham, really definitely had the upper hand. And then, we went back and we thought about McNabb in his early days, and McNabb early on in his career, he actually had a lot of success running the ball, especially his second year. So. It's not such of a landslide as you would think, because early on, McNabb wasn't pounding down the Big Macs as he has, later on in his career and right now, So, yeah, I think the other part is I don't know if McNabb would have conformed to this system. I think you have some comments here that he made when Chip Kelly was hired as the Eagles coach.
Yeah, and we'll get to those comments just a bit. Just a final thought on McNabb. God damn it, I forget what I was going to say. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. All right, so back in 2000, you referenced this about his rushing stats. I mean, he had to run the ball a lot. He had his receivers were Torrance Small and Charles Johnson. God damn, those guys sucked.
Yeah, he had no other options.
No, not at all. All right, so yeah, I do have some comments from McNabb. He was a little bit wary of Chip Kelly's system. This was back in 2013, right before the Eagles were playing the Chiefs. He made some remarks. Now, some of these were, a little bit, he had a point to one of them, but the other ones, not so much. All right, so here are the comments that he made. I don't know if any offensive player will want to run 90 plays in a game. If you're running 90 plays in a game, that means your defense is pretty awful and you're running entirely too many plays. At Oregon, Kelly may have ran 75 plays in a game, but you're not going to run 85, 90, not in the NFL. And teams and defensive coordinators are a lot better than what you're going to see in college. You worry about the depth. You're worried about the injuries and long term. Right now, everything looks great, but I'm just worried as this thing continues. Week 8, Week 9, Week 10, if guys get hurt, who's going to step in? What guys do you have to fill in these key roles? I tip my hat off to what they've been doing the first 2 weeks, but there comes a time if you're up 14, up by 21, maybe with about 11, 10 minutes to go, it's time to go into a mode where you're trying to eat some clock. You can't continue to run that fast-paced offense because it continues to run down not only their defense, but it wears your offense down too. Now, in terms of plays run per game, because this is something McNabb talked about early on in the quotes I just referenced, want to run 90 plays in a game. Eagles led the NFL this past season running 70.7 plays per game. And we just took 2004, for example, for McNabb. That was his best season as a pro. Obviously, he had Terrell Owens on his side, throwing him the ball. This was the year, I believe, McNabb, he went 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That season, the Eagles ran 60.7 plays per game. So that's 10 plays less than what the Eagles ran this season. So, and you referenced him blowing chunks in the Super Bowl. I don't think McNabb would be able to, have the endurance to run this many plays. But yeah, that's interesting that he talks about that. Now, he speaks to the depth and all the injuries and all that. In Chip Kelly's first year, really weren't that many injuries. The smoothie game was fine point. It was on point. No one was really getting hurt. But this past season, a lot of guys in the offensive line were going down. This was a problem for the running game, for Nick Foles and all that. And the depth along the offensive line wasn't great. We saw that. Now he references later in the season what guys getting hurt week 8, week 9, week 10. But honestly, this is when the Eagles looked stronger than everybody else because they were a lot more fit just by how they run in practice, and they're a lot more fitter than any other team in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly right. You make some great points there. And now people may say, well, if the Eagles ran about 60 plays, back in 2004, and now they run about 70 plays. Well, that's only a 10-play gap. Well, you go and you look at that Super Bowl, and the Eagles ran about 68 plays in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, and we all know how those final plays of the game ended up. Well, they ended up with McNabb, puking in the huddle, and you could tell physically he was tired. He couldn't handle an Andy Reid up-tempo offense. I can't imagine what he would do with a Chip Kelly up-tempo offense. He would really be struggling big time. So he made some interesting points in his comments, and some of them are accurate about the controlling the clock when you have a big lead in the fourth quarter. But besides and the injuries, some of that is correct, but Besides that, it's just McNabb opening up his big mouth.
Yeah. You know, he's a terrible analyst. He's awful. God. And do you think, honestly, I don't think he would last one drive. If he played today, he would not last one drive. That boy is huge right now.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that he would be done after one drive. And you look at McNabb. I mean, they listed him at 240 for his playing weight on NFL.com. And you look at a guy like Randall Cunningham. They had him listed at 215. So obviously that is going to make a difference there. Trying to run the Chip Kelly system. So yeah, I really feel like McNabb would have a problem conforming to the system, and I believe that Cunningham would definitely be more open to the new ideas.
Mm. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk about today, while the threat of a mobile quarterback would force defenses to be more honest, before crashing down the Eagles' running game, there's this kind of myth that, that you need a running quarterback for this system. But while it's preferred, it's not exactly needed. Now, if it was needed, would Chip Kelly really would he have drafted Matt Barkley? Matt Barkley's not a runner. Right now, he's got Nick Foles. Now, obviously, Marcus Mariota has been, the guy that's been floating around for possibly the Eagles moving up and getting. And another guy that's been, talked about, and I'm not really thrilled about this, is Brett Hundley. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole theory when Chip Kelly came to the Eagles that they needed a running quarterback. Now we saw what happened with Vic. I mean, Vic, he tried to go back to his old days and just run around. And well, he doesn't know how to slide, so that became a major issue. And well, he ended up getting injured. And that's a major concern in today's NFL. If you're gonna have a mobile quarterback, have to know how to slide, or they got to know how to get out of bounds or get down without getting hit. So realistically, yeah, it would help to have a running quarterback in this system. But I think that Foles kind of proved in his first year that Chip Kelly doesn't really need a running quarterback. It would definitely help. But more than anything, he needs a smart quarterback.
Yeah, obviously Foles isn't the fleetest of foot, but it's about making the proper read, with that defensive rusher coming down. So if he sees the 6 yards, he takes it, and that's really what you're asking for. Now, I have some stats, because they say McCoy's running game would be better with a mobile quarterback. Well, back in 2013, when Vic started 6 games, McCoy averaged 4.97 yards per carry. But with Foles in there, that number actually got bumped up to 5.2 yards per carry. So, that just shows once again, the mobile quarterback really isn't needed.
Yeah, and well, you look at this Eagles offense now, and they have so many other weapons. It's almost like having a mobile quarterback. I mean, when you talk about having a guy like Sproles in the backfield as well, he's such a threat too. In the running game and mostly in the passing game. Then you look at you guys like Macklin and guys like Jordan Matthews and Selleck and Ertz. There's so many options on that offense that it almost accumulates to what a mobile quarterback would be like.
All right, so there we go. So, those are our thoughts today on McNabb and Cunningham. A little shorter video today, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now, I guess it's final thoughts time. I would assume we're both taking. Actually, I think we already said this. We're both taking Cunningham over McNabb.
Yeah, we would take Cunningham. McNabb would be a good fit early on in his career, but I think Cunningham would definitely be the better fit.
All right, so there we go. All right, final thoughts time, real quick. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, and Minor news: the Eagles decided that it was time to get rid of James Casey. James Casey, Chip Kelly brought him in from the Texans, and this was a guy who was supposed to do some, pretty big things here in Philadelphia under Chip Kelly. Well, it didn't pan out, and he became mostly a special teams guy. He was supposed to make $4 million this year, so uh, there was no way that they were going to keep James Casey for $4 million. So it's a good move. It creates some more salary cap space for us, but the bright side too is that I think that they found a good player in Trey Burton as their third string tight end and a special teams ace.
Mm, yeah, definitely. He was a guy that, blocking a lot of punts this year. And it's funny that you mentioned Casey because we kept hearing about these three tight end sets in Chip Kelly's system, but we never really saw it. I mean, James, he really wasn't cutting it here.
Nope, he didn't cut it at all. The one play that I'll remember James Casey for in Philadelphia, and it's not a good play,
Hmm,
was the game
what are you
against
talking about?
the Chargers game, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And that was 2013, I guess, Chip Kelly's first season. Down by the goal line, and James Casey failed to make an easy catch.
Yep, yep. A lot of too many mistakes from James and his short stint in Philadelphia. And it's funny because when we signed him, I actually liked the signing, and then he played here and he wasn't too great at all. Didn't see the field much, and just turned out to not be a great signing at all. So hopefully he finds some greener pastures for himself. It won't be in Philadelphia. So that's his final thoughts today, Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Fedke. Hopefully you guys liked our video today. We'll have another one next week. Obviously the combine has started and it's going to go on through the weekend. So we'll have a little recap of that next week. So so that's Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Fedke. Later, guys. Go Birds.
They